ਐਸੋਸੀਏਟ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਆਫ ਹਾਊਸਿੰਗ ਨੀਨਾ ਟਾਂਗਰੀ MPP ਮਿਸਿਸਾਗਾ ਸਟ੍ਰੀਟਸਵਿਲ ਤੋਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਮੌਜੂਦ ਹੈ। ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਲੈਂਡਲॉर्ड ਟੈਨੈਂਟ ਬੋਰਡ ਦੀ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਓਨਟਾਰੀਓ ਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਔਰ ਪੂਰੇ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ 'ਚ ਬੜਾ ਵੱਡਾ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਹੈ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਕਿ ਟੈਨੈਂਟਸ ਦੇ ਰਾਈਟ ਸੀਗੇ, ਲੈਂਡਲॉर्ड्स ਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਰਾਈਟ ਨਹੀਂ। ਅਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਏਸ਼ੀਆ ਨੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਾਅਦ ਉਹ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਵਰ ਕੀਤਾ। ਸੋ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਾਣਾਂਗੇ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਟਾਂਗਰੀ ਤੋਂ ਕਿ ਇਹਦੇ ਤੇ ਕੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਚੇਂਜਸ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ, ਪ੍ਰਪੋਜ਼ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਲੈਂਡਲॉर्ड्स ਦੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡੀ ਕੰਪਲੇਂਟ ਸੀ, ਬਹੁਤ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਟੈਸਟ ਵੀ ਕੀਤੇ ਇਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ। ਸੋ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਕੀ ਇਹਦੇ ਤੇ ਸਟੈਪ ਲੈ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ? ਨੀਨਾ ਜੀ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ, ਵੈਲਕਮ ਟੂ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਏਸ਼ੀਆ।
ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਨਿਤਿਨ ਜੀ। ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਮੈਂ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਏਸ਼ੀਆ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ, ਨਮਸਕਾਰ ਔਰ ਆਦਾਬ।
Nina ji, Ontario government is bringing the proposed changes in the landlord tenant board. What are those changes? ਸਾਨੂੰ ਅਗਰ ਦੱਸ ਦਿਓ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡਾ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਹੈ। ਟੈਨੈਂਟਸ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਰਾਈਟਸ ਹੈ, eviction ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ, ਔਰ ਲੈਂਡਲॉर्ड्स ਦਾ ਮੰਨਣਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਬੜਾ ਅਨਫੇਅਰ ਟ੍ਰੀਟਮੈਂਟ ਮਿਲਦੀ ਹੈ LTB ਲੈਂਡਲॉर्ड ਟੈਨੈਂਟ ਬੋਰਡ ਤੋਂ, ਇਫੈਕਟਿਵ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ, ਰਿਮੂਵ ਦ LTB। ਬੜੇ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਸਾਲਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਉੱਠ ਰਹੇ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਕੀ ਚੇਂਜਸ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੇ ਪ੍ਰਪੋਜ਼ ਕੀਤੇ ਹੈ?
ਜੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਲੈਂਡਲॉर्ड ਟੈਨੈਂਟ ਬੋਰਡ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕਾਫੀ ਮਤਲਬ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮਸ ਆ ਰਹੀ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਦੋਨੋਂ ਪਾਸੇ ਕੋਵਿਡ ਕਰਕੇ ਬੈਕਲੌਗ ਕਾਫੀ ਵੱਡੇ ਹੋ ਗਏ, ਅਤੇ ਜੋ ਲੈਂਡਲॉर्ड ਟੈਨੈਂਟ ਬੋਰਡ ਬੈਕਲੌਗ ਅਸੀਂ ਖਤਮ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਅਸੀਂ ਜੋ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਐਜੂਡੀਕੇਟਰਸ ਅਸੀਂ ਮਤਲਬ ਹਾਇਰ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਅਸੀਂ ਡਬਲ ਤੋਂ ਵੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੈ। ਉਹ ਵੀ ਡਬਲ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਅਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਸਟਾਫ ਵੀ 5 ਹੋਰ ਮੈਂਬਰਸ ਹੈਲਪ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ, ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਥੋੜ੍ਹੇ ਫਾਸਟ ਰੱਖ ਸਕਦੇ। ਮਤਲਬ ਦੋਨੋਂ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਟੈਨੈਂਟਸ ਵੀ ਸੋਚਦੀ ਹੈ ਮੇਰੀ ਲੈਂਡਲॉर्ड ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ, ਅਤੇ ਉਹ ਲੈਂਡਲॉर्ड ਟੈਨੈਂਟ ਬੋਰਡ 'ਤੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਮਤਲਬ ਜੋ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮਸ ਹੈਗੀ ਉਹ ਦੱਸ ਸਕਦੇ। ਅਤੇ ਦੋਨੋਂ ਪਾਸੇ ਲੈਂਡਲॉर्ड्स ਦੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਨੇ ਜੋ ਲੋਕੀ ਕਿਰਾਇਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੇ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ, ਅਤੇ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ 2, 3, 4 ਮਹੀਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਿਰਾਇਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਿਲੇ, ਇਹ ਬੰਦੇ ਮੈਂ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੀ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਰਾਏ 'ਤੇ ਦੇ ਸਕਦੀ, ਕਿ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਆ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲੀ ਫਾਈਨੈਂਸ਼ਲੀ। ਅਤੇ ਕੁਛ ਕਿਰਾਏਦਾਰ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮਤਲਬ ਟਰੈਸ਼ ਕਰਦੇ, ਜਿਹੜੀ ਅਪਾਰਟਮੈਂਟਸ ਵਗੈਰਾ ਲੋਕ ਆਫਟਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਹੀ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ, ਤਾਂ ਵੀ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਲੈਂਡਲॉर्ड्स ਨੂੰ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ। ਪਰ ਦੂਜੇ ਪਾਸੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਟੈਕਟ ਕਰਨਾ ਟੈਨੈਂਟਸ ਨੂੰ, ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਈ ਲੈਂਡਲॉर्ड्स ਵੀ ਠੀਕ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ, ਆਪਣੀ ਮਰਜ਼ੀ ਨਾਲ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਯੂਨਿਟ 'ਤੇ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਦੱਸ ਕੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਂਦੇ, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਵੇਸੀ ਦੇਖਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ। ਅਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਲੈਂਡਲॉर्ड्स ਮਤਲਬ ਰੈਨੋਵੇਟ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਯੂਨਿਟ 'ਤੇ ਉਹ ਵੇਕੇਟ ਕਰਾਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਯੂਨਿਟ ਤਾਂ ਰੈਨੋਵੇਟ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਵੇਕੇਟ ਕਰਕੇ, ਅਤੇ ਉਹ ਰੈਨੋਵੇਸ਼ਨ ਕਰਕੇ they have to offer that unit back to that tenant as well at the same rent। ਜੇ ਇਹਨੇ ਬਹੁਤਾ ਪੈਸੇ ਲਗਾਏ ਉਹ ਲੈਂਡਲॉर्ड ਟੈਨੈਂਟ ਬੋਰਡ ਤੋਂ ਜਾ ਸਕਦੇ and they can apply for ਥੋੜ੍ਹਾ ਜਿਹੀ ਇੰਕਰੀਜ਼ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ।
ਨੀਨਾ ਜੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਅਗਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੰਗਲਿਸ਼ 'ਚ ਵੀ ਦੱਸ ਦਿਓ ਫॉर ਆਵਰ ਇੰਗਲਿਸ਼ ਵਿਊਅਰਸ ਕਿ what are the proposed changes in landlord tenant board? ਗੌਰਮੈਂਟ ਕਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਚੇਂਜਸ ਲਿਆ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ? ਬਿਕੋਜ਼ the tenants have their own complaints, landlord have their own complaints, but landlords have the more complaints that tenants are not evicting, they are not paying rent for last so many years, and government is not acting. LTB is a useless body, they are not effective. These kind of things we have heard, and even the landlords, they did lot of protest outside the LTB board. So what action government is taking now?
So we want to take steps to support renters as well as landlords as well. So we're investing another $6.5 million in the coffee facility with Aria, and we're appointing an additional 40 adjudicators, and also we want to have 5 extra staff so we can improve that service as well. So JDV active applications and the decision time frames, they can be shortened, because right now it takes a long time to get your hearing done through the landlord tenant board. We've made it a lot easier. They're online as well, adjudications taking place, but there's more we can do. And we've listened to tenants, we've listened to landlords, and that's why now we are going to increase that more than double, so that we can reduce that time. So if there are issues between landlords and tenants, they can be heard much faster and action can be taken much faster.
So as you're saying that 40 new adjudicators will be appointed and 5 new staff will be appointed in the LTB, so that the backlog or delays in the LTB system that will be removed, and renters and the landlords, they will get their due share, due fair, whatever they want.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what's most important. People shouldn't have to wait 7, 8, 9 months. We really need to reduce that time. And let's be fair to both. Let's be fair to both landlords and tenants. There are great landlords out there, are great tenants. They follow the rules. First and foremost, make sure that you have a proper lease in place, a signed lease, to make sure that everything is in writing. If they don't pay the rent on time, that you have a process that you can go through. But there's also another thing that we have a form, a standard form that we use. So if, for example, a tenant cannot pay rent, this form the landlord can complete with the tenant for a repayment process. So they have both agreed to a repayment process. And I can give you an example. So if I am unable to pay my rent on the 1st of the month this month, but I've told my landlord I will pay him a quarter next week, a quarter the week after, they can come to that agreement, both sign it, and hopefully they will follow that and get paid their payments up to date. And if they don't, that form can be used that this tenant has not followed this process and they're not paying on time. And then the landlord can come to the landlord tenant board and apply to have that person evicted. Or, we first ask them to try and find arrangements. Nobody wants to evict a tenant and nobody doesn't want to really pay their rent. But there are some bad actors out there, and this is to clear that up.
And Neena ji, why not the government do this thing that if you can't pay rent for 2 months and you are not paying 2 months, then landlord has a right to, because they have to pay their mortgages, they have to pay their bills also. If you don't have a rent to pay for 2 months, then eviction should be automatically announced.
Yes, and I've heard that from many landlords that they want to have that as a sort of a 2 months. But we're trying to get it so that we don't have to get to that stage. So by increasing the number of adjudicators, if we can get them to the landlord tenant board much faster, and understanding if someone doesn't pay their rent right away on time as agreed into their lease, the landlord already has a right to come to the landlord tenant board and say, I'm not getting my rent on time. And if they're always late, there's another case for them to be able to evict that tenant. But we ask landlords also to, have a good relationship, if possible, with the tenant to make sure that they can plan something so that we're not evicting people just because we want to get more rent from someone else. That's not fair as well. So it has to be fair on both sides. But I think by increasing the number of adjudicators on the landlord tenant board, that should solve many of those problems.
Okay, but many times it has happened that there is an eviction after 6, 7, 8 months. There is an eviction of the tenant and there is a huge due on the tenant side, and after getting a notice of eviction, after they evicted, they don't pay back to the landlord, and landlord, they have to pay the mortgages, and bank never miss single payment of the mortgage. So why can't we have these proposed changes have that kind of that if tenant don't pay after the court orders, some strict action or it can be taken on the tenant?
No, but if someone does not pay their rent and it's gone through the landlord tenant board and they are due, there's areas for those payments, they must pay those areas. They have to pay the rent that is due to the landlord, and that has gone through the court process. So if they go and look elsewhere, there's ways for the landlord to recuperate that money from them. So there are other processes. But, like I said, the best thing that we can do right now is to try and make sure when there is a problem between the landlord and tenant that the hearing can be done quickly, whether it's in person or online, and that we can get it sorted very quickly. And I think by doing this, many tenants will pay rent on time more often, and many landlords will also follow the laws as well to make sure that they're not harassing their tenants too. And for some landlords that are really, really, say for example, they don't allow their tenants or they've been harassing them and going into their units, and the fines that we have right now, we're actually going to be doubling those fines as well. So we have to make it fair on both sides.
So this will be both for the residential and the commercial acts? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So Neena ji, moving to, so finally in LTB, because this was a big issue, so government is acting now and bringing these proposed changes, which was due quite earlier that these changes are required because landlords are asking their rights and tenants were abusing also, and both the sides goes way. Neena ji, moving to next question, it's we heard that there is some legislation coming for the catalytic converters. We have seen that in Ontario, the luxury cars were being stolen, and the police chiefs wrote for the bail reforms and everything we have seen. We talked a lot about that. So what is the legislation which is coming for the catalytic converter thefts? Because $600-700 these thieves, they sell it and they get their money, and insurance, they refund their cost to the owner of the vehicle. So what kind of legislation is coming now?
So there is legislation at this point. It was a private member's bill that I was going to bring forward in the near future, and hopefully one of my colleagues will take that up, and there's been a lot of interest. But just for the sake of what has been happening to date, we know that we have a serious issue with car thefts. But sometimes it's not the car that they're stealing. Sometimes it is the actual catalytic converter, which is a part of the vehicle, which for our environment is very, very good. That catalytic converter actually has many precious metals in it, which is why they're so popular of being stolen. And then someone would steal them and then take it to a scrap dealer, and they could get anything from $500 to $2,500 in some cases. But those, so they have been stolen quite often. And unfortunately, sometimes when people either don't report it to the insurance company, they just, instead of replacing the actual part, they're just putting a pipe in there. And that pipe does not filter out the emissions, which is very bad for our environment. So we're trying to find ways, what this was proposing, and if it does come to the floor and if it is passed, that for scrap dealers, if they do purchase these, they must make sure that there's a paper trail. So for example, if a vehicle's been totaled in a car accident and now they're selling that catalytic converter legally, that is fine. So there's a paper trail. But if, for example, if it's stolen, I've been working with Peel Police actually, and a company that will put paint and etch the actual VIN number on that vehicle. And if that does come to them, a scrap dealer, it's illegal for them to purchase them if they don't see that proper paper trail. So it's sort of taking it from that side of it, and hopefully this will deter more people from stealing or trying to purchase this scrap metal. Like I said, they do have precious metals in them, which is why they're so popular.
Okay. Neena ji, now congratulations to you for your new role as the Associate Minister of Housing. So what do you want to say about the housing crisis, how government is tackling that, and what's new in this ministry?
So as you know, we have a very ambitious plan of 1.5 million houses built by 2031. We've been working with many of our municipalities, and of the large municipalities, out of 29, 28 of them have signed on. So they are working with us. We're working with the municipalities to make it easier, to get permits out, to get housing built faster. We're working with developers. We're working with all stakeholders so that we can get this housing supply built. But, one of the biggest problems that we face today is purpose-built rental housing. So we've not had a lot of rental homes built. Last year was a record year for building. We had almost 15,000 rental homes built last year, which is something we desperately need. Not everyone's can purchase a home, so we need to make sure that the rental supply is adequate. So we're working more on that, homes for seniors, home for those who need to rent, and home for those people who want to get into their first home. We know we have many of the immigrants that are coming to Canada. The vast majority of them are moving to Ontario, and we are the greatest place to live, to work, to raise a family, and to own a business. So we do want more immigrants. We want more people in the skilled trades, but they need somewhere to live. So our plan is to get these homes built so we have an adequate supply for everybody to be able to live safely.
Neena ji, for the LTV, it's a great news for the residents, for the Ontarians, that government is acting finally on the Landlord Tenant Board issue, which was there since long time. So any message in this regard you want to give to the Ontarians, and you want to reach out to them that they can reach you if they have more questions on this announcement? Where can they reach?
So you can go to my website, ninatangri.ca. It's very easy, or you can call our office at 905-569-1643. And more than happy to get back to you on this or on any other issues that our government works on. And, it's very exciting to be part of this government that really understands the people of Ontario, the issues that we all face. And housing supply is one of the most biggest and serious issues. And we're going to get it done for the people of Ontario.
Thank you, Neena ji, for discussing and bringing these changes in the LTV. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nitin ji.